Ghost in the Night with Phil Sams. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to episode number 86 of Ghost in the Night, a hauntings and paranormal podcast. I am Phil Sams. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to check out this podcast. Today, we're going to just keep it light. I don't have a whole lot planned for this episode. I have some business I want to take care of before we get into the podcast, but we are going to talk about a little UFO talk. I had a personal experience, I think, possibly, maybe. I'll tell the story and let you decide, and you can get back to me on what you think it was, or if it was a legitimate UFO sighting. And second, there's a new reality show, and it's about time, because we don't have enough of them. But this one, I'm actually kind of looking forward to, because Ozzy is coming back. Now, Ozzy is probably, I'm referring to Ozzy Osbourne naturally, is the best reality star of all time. It really started, no, it didn't really start, but it was the best reality show that has ever aired. It beats everybody. Every show that has been on before, I think The Real World was before, it started before it actually, but it really got the reality ship sailing. It really pushed it over the edge. It wasn't Survivor. I don't care what anybody says. It was Ozzy Osbourne and his crazy ass family. That is what started this monster called reality television that we can't stop now, and it just has went crazy. But he is coming back, and is coming back in a paranormal way. And that is a show with his son, who has his own paranormal show with Katrina, Portals to Hell, which isn't horrible. I don't mind it. I rather watch that than some 99.9% of the other ones, just because it's a little bit more entertaining, and they don't overhype a lot, like, say, some of these other ones do, and some of the most popular ones do. But Jack is bringing Ozzy and his mother, who is a little batshit crazy herself, back to reality, back to the reality world, and it has a paranormal twist, and it's called, what is it called? Something I want to believe. Oh, hell, I don't know. Yes, that's it. The Osbournes want to believe. Now, this is going to be an interesting topic, and I want to talk about that as well as my possible UFO encounter I had about a month ago. Not quite a month ago. But before we do that, let's get to some quick business. I know everybody hates when hosts do business first. They just want to get right to the point. But there's some things I need to talk about before I get started. And that is, I have been doing these recordings for the podcast live. I haven't done one in a few weeks. Had some technical difficulties and some timing issues. I'm going to get back to it. If you listened to last week's podcast, you heard me say I was going to do it on Friday. Some things came up in my schedule and I could not do it. I apologize for that, but next week, depending on when this airs, I'm going to start back up, at least doing a Facebook Live recording session of the episode, but I'm also going to try to add or do Facebook Live and YouTube. So if you follow me on YouTube and you are subscribed to the channel, you will be able to view it as well. So that's going to come up in a week or two. I will let you guys know, but you have to follow me on Twitter at @night_ghost to know that. I will post that, or you can follow us on Facebook at the Facebook page at what is that? No, Twitter is @night_ghost. Facebook is Ghost in the Night Podcast. So if you don't follow me on any one of those and you want to know when we're going to go live, be sure to follow us on one of those two platforms, because that is where I'm the most active, especially Twitter. And I do updates on the show, when things are going to come out, when things might, when I'm going to go live. So if you want to kind of keep up with my schedule, which is kind of hard, it's, life doesn't always work out the way you want it to. timing sometimes is an issue. I'm not recording this episode when I wanted to record it. Like I said, I wanted to do it live, but couldn't do it. Pisses me off a little bit, but I'm getting it done. So in the coming weeks, I will go back to doing live recordings of most of the podcast episodes. Not every week, but it's going to be more often than not. I'm going to do those. I do have some investigations coming up, so we should have some more on the hunt episodes to put out. I have found a little footage and recordings of previous investigations that I forgot about that I had. I found them, so I might be able to squish them together and kind of get another on the hunt episode in the future. Don't know. We'll see. But I'm also going to start a new show, but it's only going to be available on my Patreon page. So this show is about conspiracies. I know this is a paranormal show, but conspiracies are very hot right now. They're very interesting in today's society with Epstein and the UFO, with things that are popping off with the UFO, especially the disclosure that has come out so far and possibly coming down the pike. I think it's a good time to start talking about conspiracies. And you can't really talk about conspiracies that much on YouTube, or you will get shadow banned, or you can't, they're not fond of this topic. So I'm going to make it for Patreons only. So if you want the Ghost of the Night conspiracy show, it is on my Patreon account. So become a patron. You can find that at my website. You can find a link to my Patreon account. That's ghostinthenightpodcast.com. And I think it's patreon.com/GITM podcast is it, but don't hold me to that. I should have checked before I looked into it. But you do get all the regular episodes, and then you're going to get 2 of these episodes a month starting in August. So in the next week or so, I will have one of those up on Patreon. So be sure to become a patron of the show and show your support that way by just $2 is all it is. Oh, dogs are barking. Should have known that was going to happen. Become a patron and you can get those bonus 2 episodes of Ghost of the Night, which is going to be not necessarily ghost. It's going to be any conspiracy out there I want to talk about. So that is what we're going to talk about on that show. So be sure to be on the lookout for that. All right, let's go ahead and get into this episode. Now, before we talk about the Osbournes, I want to get this UFO situation that I popped up on me a couple weeks ago. And it was actually happened on July 4th. Just to kind of give some backstory. The family was out camping. I did not go, but I had to go pick one of the kiddos up at about 11 o'clock. It was about 11 o'clock. And so it was about a 45-minute drive. So I was heading that way. I think I left about 10:15. And I'm driving out of the subdivision, going down the road. Fireworks popping off all over the place. It was actually kind of cool, kind of pretty. Got a free fireworks show on my drive there. And as I was going along, I noticed the moon was really big that night. I don't know if it was a supermoon night or whatever, but the moon was yellow or not. Yeah, it kind of had that yellow tint to it, and it was really, really big. And I was just looking at the moon because as I was driving, it was off to my left. I forget which. I guess I was going south. Yeah, I had been going south, so it had been to my left. And as I was looking at the moon, I noticed something right underneath it, moving horizontally with, basically it wasn't going up or down, it was just a straight line moving. And it was a red orb. Not a red orb, but it was a red light. So I'm immediately thinking, oh, that's a plane. And wow, that plane's moving really fast. Because it looked really far away from what I could tell by the size of the red light. But as I looked at it a little bit longer and kind of studied it, I was like, wait a minute. That light's not flashing. It's not blinking. There's no green light. Generally, especially, planes generally have red lights and green lights, and they flash. That dog is still barking. Killing me. So I was looking at it, I was like, wow, that light's not blinking. It's not getting dimmer or anything because it was far off. So I would think that I still would see it flicker, but it didn't. And I looked at it, and I had to look at it, steady for at least a minute as I was driving. Not steady because I was driving. I was kind of have to put my focus back and forth between the road and this object because it was, like I said, I was looking at my driver's side window. But I was looking at it, it was like, it's a solid red orb, I guess you could say. It appeared to be round, which is not uncommon. But I was watching it, and it was just hauling ass. It was moving extremely, extremely fast. And I'm like, wow, that thing is flying. That thing is, I mean, you can't gauge speed, but my impression of it, it was moving really fast, whatever it was, and it was a straight line, just going left or right, right to left. Wow. I had a little brain fart there for a minute. I was just looking at it, I was like, wow, that thing is flying. And, I had to shift my attention back to the road real quick. And then when I looked back again, a couple seconds later, 2 seconds later, it was gone. I didn't see it. I kind of even slowed down, kind of see if I could find it again. I mean, it wasn't going that fast where it would have been out of my view completely if it was just kind of going parallel to me. But I don't know what it was. And I haven't talked about this. It's almost been a month now from the day I'm recording this. I believe it's the 2nd of August, so it's just under a month. I haven't talked about it because I've really been trying to wrap my head around whether I wanted to talk about it or not because I don't know what it was. If I had to guess, odds are it was probably just a plane, but I would expect that light to flicker. I would expect it to, at least get dimmer from the flickering of it because every plane I've seen, and I might be wrong, I'm not an aviation expert by any stretch of any imagination. Every light I've seen on a plane's wings, they flash. The red and green lights flash. They're not consistent all the time. So it didn't appear to flicker at all. I mean, if I'm wrong on that, please let me know. You can send me an email at gitmpodcast@gmail.com. And if I'm wrong, please enlighten me. I want to know because I'm not 100% sure what I saw. If I had to guess, the skeptic in me says, yes, it's a plane. And believe it or not, I do have a skeptic side. I have to be proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that something is a UFO, something is paranormal, something is a cryptid. I don't immediately jump to that when I come across something or I encounter something or I visually see something or hear something. I don't immediately go to it's a ghost or whatever, or it's something from out of this world. I like to be a little bit more rational about it because I don't have all the answers. I'm not an expert in every field. And I just don't know what it was. So if there are lights on a plane that stay lit, red lights stay lit all the time, please let me know. Like I said, send me an email or send me a direct message on Twitter, however you want to get a hold of me. Any of my social media accounts, Facebook or Twitter, or send me the email. And tell me, hey, yes, there are planes that have solid red lights. But getting back to the actual sighting, it didn't get bigger. It was consistently the same size, and it was just moving from, as I was looking, like I said, my right, it looked like it was heading north. I was heading south, and it was heading north. Now, what's interesting, why I say it could be a plane or some kind of aircraft, is I don't live that far away from Wright Pat Air Force Base, which paranormal or UFO, the UFO community is well aware of Wright Pat because some of the Roswell crash ended up there after it dropped in 1947. So the UFO community is very familiar with Wright Pat Air Force Base. So we do see a lot of planes up this way. I live between Cincinnati and Dayton, essentially. And so it's not uncommon to see planes heading north, big planes, even some military type planes. But it was heading in that direction. So if any of you that live in the Southwest Ohio area, the greater Cincinnati or Dayton area, if you saw something as well, please let me know. It was, like I said, it was July 4th. There was definitely, like I said, fireworks going off, but it was not, a firework, because fireworks go up, kind of flare out, and then come back down. This was making a straight line and heading in a direction. So it was not a firework, which my initial thought was, yes, that was a firework. Then I was like, no, that's just going in a straight line. It's not losing altitude. It's just going, and it's flying. I mean, the speed, I can't even comprehend how fast it was going, because I've never seen a plane move that fast. And like I said, we see a lot of planes with traffic that is going to right pat, and plus the CVG airport is in northern Kentucky, which is 20 miles south of me, probably, or 25, 30. But I know they're circling, when planes circle an airport, the outer ring is up this way. We do see a lot of big air jetliners, circling, making their approach and what have you. So I see a lot of planes. This was not what I was accustomed to seeing. I've never seen something that stayed a red light that just was completely lit up, solid, and moving at that speed. And it wasn't really high up. The altitude that it was traveling at was not that high. So it wasn't like it was a big jet airplane traveling high and fast. No, it seemed like the altitude was very low, because the moon at that time wasn't that high in the sky. Now the elevation of where I was driving is a little bit higher, so I had a good view. But it was it wasn't that like it was really high up or really high altitude. It was fairly reasonable, and it just flying across the horizon. So, but was it a UFO? Probably not. It was weird. I've never seen anything like it. It's very possible it could have been something. I haven't heard any chatter about any UFO sightings that night. So, like I said, if you know of somebody that is into this and does watch the sky, did they see something on July 4th, on 4th of July weekend, that day, that Saturday? So I don't know. I mean, part of me wants to think that was weird. I've never seen it before. It might be something UFO related, unidentified. It is unidentified because I don't know what it was. But was it the whole, whether UFOs are alien or, just our experimental planes? That's another debate. That's another show. There's a definite difference. Unidentified means unidentified. We don't know what it is. Don't know what it is, if I could talk. But, part of me wants to say, like I said, it was a UFO. Something I haven't seen before and didn't appear to be a regular standard aircraft. But then the more rational, the more skeptic side of me says, it was probably just a plane, and you're looking into it and you're reading into it, and you just probably want it to be that. I don't know. It's just weird. I've never seen anything like it, and I've never seen a UFO per se that I know of. I've never looked out in the night sky and actually seen something that I said, that is definitely a UFO. I haven't been fortunate enough. I don't spend that much time looking at the sky generally at night. But, I mean, I'm not going to say I never do, but I've never seen what I would classify as a UFO until this night. And I'm not even sure what it was. I could be wrong. It could have been just a regular plane. So like I said, if you know of a plane that does have a solid red light that doesn't flash or blink in any way, shape, or form, it just is constantly on, please let me know, fill me in. That way it'll solve this mystery for me. But I'm not going to say it was a UFO. I'm not going to say it was a plane. I don't know. And that's generally how I will leave it. So, like I said, send me an email or send me a direct message or comment on the comment section at the website for the show notes of this episode. and let me know what you think, if you have an answer for me, or if you actually saw it as well, and maybe validate it. So I don't know. Let me know. Now let's move into the Osbournes we want to believe. Paranormal shows are getting a little crazy. They have to one up each other. I haven't, I think this show actually starts, I'm recording this on the 2nd. I think tomorrow night is the first night. I will definitely check it out because I love Ozzy Osbourne. Like I said in the intro, that was a reality show. I couldn't stop watching it. It was freaking awesome. They're all freaking crazy. It's a train wreck that you have to watch, but it's a good train wreck because it's amusing. Nobody gets hurt, especially, the kids back in those days. They were a handful, and they were a bit crazy too. Now it seems like Jack has grown up and become a little bit more, has become an adult, and it's great that he's into the paranormal because I enjoy his show. But Ozzy trying to convince, I love the concept of the show, trying to convince Ozzy and Sharon that there is such a thing as a paranormal, or make them become believers in the paranormal, which that is actually kind of interesting that Ozzy Osbourne and Sharon Osbourne, they're a little flighty. I mean, I would say they were out there, whether that's just the role that they play. I don't know them personally. It might just be an act, but they seem a little flighty, and they seem like the people, especially Sharon, because she is a little flighty, it seems. But Ozzy, if anybody believed in the paranormal, would be the Prince of Frickin' Darkness, the lead singer of Black Sabbath, and his solo career. I mean, the man bit a head off a bat. People associated Ozzy Osbourne with satanic practices from his music, from his Black Sabbath days. You would. It's actually shocking that he's not a big believer, apparently, in the paranormal. I believe in an article he said he's never encountered or experienced any kind of paranormal activity. I would think Ozzy Osbourne would believe in the paranormal and would have had experiences. That just blows my mind that he is possibly a little bit more of a skeptic. And I wouldn't say he was a skeptic from the tone or from how I gather. Freaking dog. And if you're hearing the dog bark, let's let them all bark now. People walking their dogs walk by our house, and boom, I have a dog barking contest because our dogs are stupid. But I have the little dog that's just laying there in the bed, not barking a bit. That's a good freaking dog. The other two are freaking morons. Of course, hopefully you're not even hearing it, and it's all good, and you don't hear it. And you're just saying, what the hell is he talking about? But anyway, where was I at with the Osbournes? I'm easily distracted. Anyway, okay. It's shocking that Ozzy Osbourne is not a believer or hasn't had any encounters. I find that fascinating. So I'm looking forward to the show. Oh, that's what I was talking about. From some interviews I've read and listening to him speak, Ozzy, I'm talking about, he's not a believer. He's not a true skeptic or a denier. He's open to it, it seems like. Seems like they're both open to it, which is cool. And that's the best way to go into any scenario where you're not 100% sure what's going on. You need to be open and a little skeptical. That way you're not going to get fooled, or the chances of you getting fooled are less likely. You can't go into a situation and be a 100% believer, because that's not going to work either. Because if you're a 100% believer, you're going to find something, or you're going to be easily convinced or easily tricked that something is paranormal, or a ghost or a spirit or a demon or whatever. But if you're 100% skeptical and don't believe anything, you're going to deny everything. So the best way to go into it is to be open-minded. And I like it. So I'm looking forward to the show. I think it'll be hilarious because you get those three together. It's going to be comedy gold. For if you don't like reading subtitles because you can't understand how a word Ozzy says, so they have to do subtitles. Which is, that's always been something that has fascinated me as well, is how the man can sing, and he can sing. You can understand every word, but listening to him talk, it's like a different language. But you can, his words and his lyrics, and when he's just singing, is crystal clear. That's paranormal. How a man can pull that off, that is really paranormal. That is a question somebody should answer for me. I'm sure it's just, there's some kind of neurological reason for it. But don't ruin my fantasy. Anyway, I'm looking forward to it, so be sure to check it out and leave me a message on Twitter, and we'll have a discussion about it. I'm going to watch it. Might not watch it exactly when it comes out. I will definitely record it and catch it a night or two later if I got something going on. But I will definitely watch it before I record the next episode. So before episode 87, I think, yeah. I will have watched it. Maybe I will give my opinions on it in that episode. We'll see. So that is going to wrap up this episode. Don't forget, like I mentioned earlier, follow me on Twitter at @night_ghost. That way you get all the updates of when I'm going to do the live stream recordings of a podcast episode. It won't be every week. I wanted to do it every week, but it's just, life's a little hectic and I can't commit to an exact time every week. When I do them, I want to try to keep it around Wednesday at 9, 10 o'clock, preferably more 10 o'clock. But I can't guarantee I'm going to do it every week because sometimes things come up. But that is when, if I do record live, it will be on Wednesdays at 10 o'clock. And like I said, I'm always doing it on Facebook, but I'm going to do both Facebook and YouTube from now on. I'm going to give it a shot and see how it works. If it gets too much, I will not do it naturally and probably just stick with Facebook. But don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. That way, if you want to check it out that way, you're more than welcome to do that. Check out the other videos, but be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and the notification bell. Follow us on Twitter, like I said. Follow us and like us on Facebook. And however you take in the podcast, whether it be iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn. This podcast is just about on every platform. Be sure to follow or subscribe however they do it. That will help with, moving us up the charts a little bit. If you have an opinion about the podcast, leave us a review. I welcome your opinion. If you have a concept or an idea or a topic you want covered, by all means, do that. Let me know. I'll do my best to cover it. If I'm not an expert in it, I will try and educate myself the best I can and have a somewhat reasonable conversation about it, or explain it to the best of my ability. What else? Oh, yeah, that's right. Big news. The Conspiracy Show on Patreon. So if you want to check out my Conspiracy Show, be sure to become a subscriber to the Patreon page. $2 a month. We have 2 tiers, 2 and 5. $2 a month will get you those episodes. Plus, when I do a bonus episode, I do have other exclusive Patreon content on there as well. I'm going to start doing a lot more of it. And just these conspiracy shows are going to be more of that. I'll do a few bonus episodes, maybe do some clips from investigations, these upcoming investigations that I won't share on YouTube. And also, I'm putting together a blooper reel because, as you probably have guessed, I do a lot of freaking bloopers. I'm lucky to get through this half-hour podcast. Could take me an hour and a half because I make a lot of mistakes, and editing is a bitch. If I was a little bit better at it, maybe it wouldn't take so long to edit. But you'll get those things with the Patreon. So support the podcast that way. We do have podcast t-shirts. Head on over to ghostinthenight.com, and there are links there to get you the Spreadshirt account where I do have all my podcast t-shirts, have many podcast t-shirts. Often I do wear them. You can't see some of them, or just some paranormal t-shirts and merchandise. Head on over there, pick up one of those up. Very reasonably priced. Greatly would appreciate that. So until next week, take care, everybody.